This conference will now be recorded.
Christopher Gray.
Here.
All right, so we do have a quorum, so we'll call to order at 7:03.
Thank you.
All right, so first I would like to, we have a new member, Christopher Gray. Christopher, do you go by Chris or Christopher? Remind me.
I go by Chris.
Okay. All right.
Sarah, go ahead and state that the alternates that'll be voting.
Doesn't he have to become a member first?
Well, it's not going to be him. It's going to be Matt, since you're only missing. Well, hold on. Yeah, maybe I'm
only
wrong.
have 4. I need 2.
Okay, well then, okay. Yeah, as long as we state it for the recording, we
I
can
will.
do the swearing first. Thank you.
Okay. Well, do you have the form, Chris, that says the oath that you'll need to read for us?
I have it up right now.
Perfect. If you would mind reading that, wouldn't mind reading that, that'd be great.
Both pages.
Sure. I mean, I'm assuming I need to read both of them, right?
Yes, please.
Yes,
There's
please.
2 in here. I, Christopher Gray, do solemnly swear that I have not directly or indirectly paid, offered, promised to pay, contributed, or promised to contribute any money or thing of value, or promised any public office or employment as a reward to secure my appointment or confirmation thereof, so help me God. And moving on to the second one. I, Christopher Gray, do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the duties of the office of board members of Haslet Parks and Recreation Board for the city of Haslet, and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States and of this state, so help me God.
Thank you. So because we have 2 absences today, Matt and Chris will both be voting members. When you guys are in an alternate place, you're only voting in the absence of one of the first or of the seated chairs. So since we do have, I would like you both to vote today, please. So I'll be calling your names when we get to that time. Reviewing virtual meeting best practices. Make sure your microphone is muted when you're not talking, and be sure to say your name when you do start talking so that we know who it is speaking. It is recorded and not everyone will recognize your voice. Let's see. We don't really use the chat function on ours, so if you have it, please do not use it. If you need to address Katrina, please do that. Otherwise, we're not going to be utilizing that. Discuss, consider, and act to excuse any board member absences, if any. We talked about that. Looks like Barbara's missing, and Brian is missing, and Jeff is missing. So those 3 are gone, but we have Matt and Chris here, so that's perfect. Community interest. Early voting will start on Monday, April 19th, and run through April 27th, with the final day being May 1st, which is a Saturday. You can vote at the former Haslet Elementary School at 501 Schoolhouse Road. The last day to submit a ballot by mail, should you be absent, is going to be April 20th. I will tell you that if you would like to have a mail ballot sent to you, you actually have to have an address outside of your own home. So if you plan to be gone, make sure you have that forwarding address if you're not going to be here on Monday. Let's see, the annual spring cleanup event is Saturday, May 8th from 8 to noon at the Haslet Fire Station on 156. And we will look
And I
at
have one more to add, please. The Chamber Business Builder is a networking coffee, and Haslet is hosting. We host it about twice a year. We're hosting on April the 21st at the Wood Spring Suites Hotel from 8 to 9 a.m. It is free for members to attend, and it is $20 if you're a non-member and you pay at the door. If anyone would like to attend that, just shoot me an email and we will get you registered as a City of Haslet member.
and remind me what the title of that is.
It's the Chamber's Business Builder Networking Coffee. They do it every month and different cities host it.
Business Builders. Got it. All right. And then if we could look at the meeting minutes from last time. Oh, I'm sorry. The voting location and schedule calendar is in your packet if you were wondering about that, along with a flyer for the cleanup day. I missed those. I'm sorry. Financial statement, Marcy. All right, would anyone like to motion to approve those minutes?
This is Cindy. I'd like to approve the minutes of the March 10th meeting.
Perfect. Do I have a second?
This is Garrick. I'll second.
Yeah.
Excellent. Erica?
I'm here, sorry.
We've motioned to accept the minutes from last meeting, and Garrick has seconded it. Do you approve?
I am.
Matt?
Approve.
Chris?
Approved.
All right. And we will look at the financial statement. Just going to budget realized. Has a new
I'm sorry, Sarah.
format now.
Sarah, this is Cindy.
Yes, Cindy.
Did you get Garrick's vote?
Oh, yeah, I did. He was second. Did I not say Garrett?
Okay. I didn't hear
And
his voice,
everyone
so.
approved, right?
I think Garrett
I
seconded it.
approve.
Okay, perfect.
I did.
Motion passes.
Motion passes. Thank you. The financial statement has a little bit of a new look. You guys want to look over that? I know that Marcy's not here, but does anyone know the reason for the percent of budget realized, or is that what she just, Travis, maybe you know, is that what she decided on?
Yeah, that's up to date. So percent of budget realized, that's what she settled on, yeah. So for instance, in the city park improvement fund, what was expected was 50,000. Year to date is 161, so you're 300% over what was expected.
This is Cindy. I really like that last column. Thank you, Marcy. And I would like to make a motion that we approve the budget.
Thank
All
you.
right, Cindy motion, so I have a second.
Second it, Erica.
Erica second. Garrett?
Approve.
Matt?
Approve.
Chris?
Approved.
And I, Sarah, say yes, so that motion passes. We'll accept them the way they are.
Thank
All
you.
right. Now we have discuss, consider, and act upon a recommendation to the City Council to approve adding additional lighting to the TAP trail. And I would like to note that it says discuss, consider, and act upon approval of cost estimate from JEC Energy Savings in the amount of $92,000 and making a recommendation, it's sort of a joint topic, A and B, to the HCEDC Type B board and the A board? A and
Yes,
B board to participate in the funding of the lighting of the TAP trail in that amount. So basically this is open for discussion and Travis can tell us more about it, but we get to make a recommendation to these boards to either fund or not fund this lighting. Travis, I'll let you explain it since you know a little bit better.
Okay. So the solar lights in the park now, which can actually be seen on page 18 of your packet, they actually use the Haslet Park as kind of a selling point for their brand of light. During the city council strategic plan, which seems really long ago, September 2019, they had identified lighting the TAP trail from Schoolhouse up to where it's going to cross by the new Avondale Haslet connection. So that area on the Avondale Haslet side will be lit by lighting from the new roadway. And then the FM 156 piece would be lit by when FM 156 is expanded. So this is just putting these solar lights down Schoolhouse Road. So we wouldn't have to remove them when the new construction comes in. Just for simplicity and because we had success with the other lights, we went with the same vendor. That, like I said, council put it in the strategic plan. Jim, the city administrator, was the one that is responsible for finding funding. I believe the EDC had popped up and said that they may be interested in funding those. So that's where this is coming from. The reason it's at your feet tonight is because the TAP trail, kind of functions underneath parks because it does go through community parks. So really this is just asking what your all's opinions are. If you want to ask the EDCs to fund this, recommend to the EDC board to fund it, recommend to council to fund it, through EDC, that type of thing. I'll answer any questions or I guess open for discussion.
Will you remind me one more time where it goes, where the lighting is supposed to go? You said along Schoolhouse Road before it crosses over?
Right, it'll go, actually it'll be a couple poles on the other side as well. But so where Schoolhouse or where the TAP trail takes the 90-degree turn to go in the old Avondale Haslet Road there. So from there south to Odessa Drive.
I'm sorry. So you're saying Schoolhouse Road, kind of where the stoplight is, and south?
No, where past the crossing. So you have the crossing right in front of the old Haslet Elementary.
Yes.
Then you have that other little piece before the trail turns to the west.
Yes.
So that little piece, and then all of the others when it's on the other side of the road.
On the 156 side?
On the Schoolhouse side. No lighting on 56. Only Schoolhouse Road.
Okay.
What about the underpass? Is it like that?
Yeah, that is not included in this because that is part of the piece of the trail that will be reconstructed when FM 156 is redone.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we'll have to look at it at that time. I don't want to put anything that gets ripped out by TxDOT.
Right.
How many poles is it?
I thought I had included that in your backup, but let me.
I didn't see it. I looked at it yesterday. I didn't see anything. Maybe I missed it.
It is a total of 37 poles.
Hey, this is Matt. So just is the couple questions. The total length, I guess the poles per length, the lumens per light, is this basically the same? It looks like the existing one's 0.8 miles, 63 poles. Is this proportionally the basically the exact same thing? Same style, same lumen, same all that?
Yes. And it's about
Okay.
the same spacing as well.
And on a cost basis, is it roughly in line with what was already done? I don't know what the cost of the original was. You're saying this is $90-some thousand. So roughly, I mean, I know it's not going to be exactly proportional, but is it in the ballpark? I mean, is it a reasonable compared to what they've done?
It's actually lower. So we had the unfortunate timing of hitting right when those first solar tariffs were going into place. So the lights in Community Park are actually a little bit more expensive than these ones. So they're a little bit lower priced because they've switched solar manufacturers. And then the other thing is they've got onto the Texas Buy Board, which is what cities use to kind of guarantee low prices. So this is a little bit less than what was put into Community Park on a per pole basis.
Can I direct this a different way? I have two questions, Travis. Can you tell everyone on the board who doesn't know what or I don't know, Katrina, one of you two, what the Haslet Economic Development Committees, councils are responsible for?
Sure. So the economic development boards are funded through sales tax in the city. When you go buy, say, Coca-Cola, there's 8.25% sales tax on that. 6.25 automatically goes to the state, and then the other 2% is left to the cities to decide what they want to do with it. So in Haslet, the type A corporation gets 0.25%, and type B gets 0.5%. So that's how they're funded. So anytime there's a sales tax generating transaction in Haslet, that's how they're funded. They do projects that are basically for community betterment. They can fund park improvements. They can fund, like if you're improving a business, they can fund some of that. During the pandemic, they have, I believe, funded some business relief plans. So
Yes.
that's what they do.
And then my second question is, just so we all understand, the area where the bridge is in the park, I don't know how often any of you have been in the park, under the underpass that you have to get through from Haslet Park to go into the TAP Trail, that area is going to be removed or redone, so it's not going to be there anymore?
No, it will be redone. It will still be there. But when they demolish that bridge, they're going to take out a portion of that trail and then rebuild it. So that's part of the plan with FM 156 is to completely rebuild that section. And at that time, hopefully we can get a different kind of design in there so it's not wet under there all the time. We'll have to see. I'm not sure what the design is. We're not in control of that, but we have made the request at least. So that's that, and then all the trail along FM 156 will be redone as well.
Which is why we're not putting any lights in that area.
Correct.
Correct.
So what is the time frame that you think that bridge is going to be redone?
2025 is what TxDOT keeps.
2025. Okay, good. So basically, we're going to have lights that no one can access because of water under the bridge until 2025, unless they start on Schoolhouse Road and ride their bike or run up and down. Okay, well, I'm going to take that as a yes. So I'm going to make a few comments, and you guys you're welcome. I have my own opinion on this. I've been at the park a lot. I tend to go to the park a lot in the spring. There is quite a bit of water under that area. I don't see anyone leaving the park. I see tons of people at the park utilizing our park services, playing volleyball, playing disc golf, walking the trails, having their dogs, having their kids play soccer. But every time I saw a group of ladies a couple of times while I was out walking, walk to that bridge area where the water is, turn around and come back because they don't want to go through the water to get to the other side. And so I personally don't quite understand why we would recommend funding for lights on a road that nobody can access from the park when we don't have enough electricity in the park to fund or to light the tennis court, to light the things like at Christmas in the park. We needed electricity and we don't have those things. I guess the lighting that's in the park now, I would rather see more solar panels put out at our own park where people are walking actively. I'm not saying no one uses the TAP trail. I'm just thinking that might be a future recommendation versus a now recommendation. Are we able to recommend those funds for something else?
Since this is in the strategic plan, I'm not sure. You can always recommend, actually, yes, if you want to recommend something different, council will have to approve it before it goes back to EDC, but you can do that.
And if we don't recommend it, where are they going to get the money from?
The EDC still will take action on it, but with or without a recommendation, because because this is on the strategic plan, so this is at a council level. We're running through the everybody should see it before we just do it type scenario.
Garrick, you got anything? Cindy?
No.
This is Cindy. I think possibly, and I'm not trying to read somebody else's mind, but they're trying to work on the sections that they are allowed to work on that will not be torn up in the future. And with the expansion of 156, then we can go back in and work on, after they get the bridge redone, hopefully they'll raise that sidewalk underneath the bridge and put more lights in those in 2025. But right now they're just wanting to work on what they're able to work on that's not going to be torn up. And it'll have a continuancy when all those projects are finished. It's just like everything else, we have to wait till it gets finished for it to look really good.
That's a perfect summary.
And I do agree with Sarah. We need more lighting in the community park because the lights that are there work very nicely, but they're not quite close enough to where you can walk in the light, that they don't come on, consecutively enough to feel like you're well lit. But that can be a future thing.
Would they give us the money to put the lights in the park versus the money to put the parks outside of the park?
If that's your recommendation, I will take it to council and ask.
That's just my opinion. I don't know if that's what the board thinks. That would be just I was walking out there the other day, and if my husband hadn't been with me, I would not have wanted to be there alone. Basically, like Cindy said, those lights work really, really well, but they're just far enough apart that we just need a few more out there to make it feel like you're more lit up, especially around the back and some of the turns. I personally would like to see more lights in the park that the kids are playing at and the people are walking in and sports are happening. And I guess that's just my thinking, but maybe I'm thinking wrong. If you've got a better suggestion, I'm open to hearing that, or if anyone else has any other input, I would be happy to hear it.
So this is Matt. I would ask if more lighting would actually make you feel safe, or if there's a different alternative to to that? Is it you don't feel safe because there's not enough lighting, or you're kind of out there and it doesn't matter how much lighting you have, you're still not going to feel safe? Because I would maybe go a different way if you just don't feel safe and there's like those emergency stations or whatever. I don't even know, but I would think there's a different path we could take if it's a safety thing.
It's just dark. So out in the back where the train tracks run, there's too much shadowing when the lights are on. My kids would run ahead with my husband and I would walk behind. And I mean, I felt safe with distance and a group of people. But if no one else had been with me, I don't know that I would have known that I could see someone coming out of a bush, if that makes sense. Not that they can't come running out of the bush at any time, but I feel safer when I can see them coming at me.
Yeah, it's a little eerie. Yeah.
This is Cindy.
Of more lighting, I think, especially in the evenings. Your example of being out there with kids is, I think, resonates with certainly myself, and I think with others that they're always running ahead or running off or whatever. So I think more lighting would be appropriate.
Okay, Travis, this is Cindy.
Walking. Go ahead, Cindy.
No, go ahead and finish the discussion.
This is Sarah. I was just going to say, I don't drive down Schoolhouse Road enough at night, so I can't attest to that. I just know in the past 2 weeks, I've actually been in Haslet Park a lot of the evening and at night. And I've seen people out there, and I feel like people might stay longer, or there might be more people if there are better lighting. I don't have any experience going down the tap trail at night. So I don't know if people would use that. Would they just go walking down that empty road at night if they're not even walking in the park? And I understand this is a long-term plan, but I feel like there were other things that, as a board, we had talked about putting in electricity at the park. I think Katrina mentioned that at one point. I just feel like there were other recommendations that would have come before that. Is there a timeline, Travis, that makes this so important for right now?
Only that it's in the short-term goals for the strategic plan for city council, which is a 1 to 2 year look ahead.
Okay.
This is Cindy. Okay, I would like to suggest that we make a motion to accept the proposal for lighting down Schoolhouse Road, but with careful consideration of adding lighting to Community Park also.
This is Erica. I second it.
All right, Garrett.
Approved.
Sorry, Matt.
Approved.
Chris.
Approve.
I disagree. But the motion passes. So next, number 9, discuss, consider, and act upon a recommendation to City Council to approve the addition of tennis courts at the community park. We have been talking about this for some time now, and it looks like Travis included some information here. I'm going to read this executive summary from March 15th that's included in your packet on page 35. It says, at the March 1st City Council meeting, staff was directed to obtain additional information concerning the placement of a tennis court where the existing volleyball court is located. A preliminary layout for a double tennis court was prepared where the existing volleyball court is removed, a new double tennis court installed, the existing trail realigned, and the disc golf hole throwing area moved. If authorized, the city engineer will I'm not sure what that means. Will engage a surveying company from the master RFQ to conduct a topographic study. The city engineer will design the improvements and prepare a bid package for council consideration. Budgeted resources for this was $75,000. The estimate that is here for probable construction costs, there's a photograph on page 36 where the tennis court covers the whole of the sand pit there, extends in over the trail with a new trail around the edge, moving of one of those disc golf areas. Looks like it bats up right against the playground. And that estimate would be, looks like $197,000. That doesn't match for our $75,000 in the fund. So we will discuss, consider, and act upon approval of the engineer's report for a double tennis court in Community Park for an amount of $197,143. And to ask that the remaining budgeted funds in Fund 15 of $32,000 be utilized to make it $107,000. And then ask the Haslet Economic Development Group A and B to fund the rest of it. So my first question is, what happened to the tennis court being on the other side again?
All right. So here's how it has developed through council for a couple meetings in a row. Initially, it was the multi-use court, which was a kind of a tennis, pickleball, volleyball court area that was to replace the volleyball pit there. After that, or at that meeting, there was basically just an ask, does a tennis court fit in the same location? Just a straight up tennis court, full size tennis court. So I took that information and said, yes, a single tennis court will fit there. And then 5 years ago when I had started here, there was another location on First Street that looked like it could fit a double tennis court. So that was also presented to council. So at the next time they saw this, the question was, is the location on First Street ideal for tennis? The answer is no, because the rotation of the court doesn't line up for ideal conditions. The other issue with that location on First Street was it would literally take up every piece of space. So you'd have the tennis fence right next to the fence of that resident there. And I think council was a little bit hesitant to do that. So then the question was asked, does a double tennis court fit where the single tennis court could go? So it came back again, that's the March 1st one you had just read, that yes, in fact, a double tennis court does fit. There's a couple improvements that need to be made, a couple trees that need to be replaced, a couple things got to move out of the way, but yes, in fact, it does fit. And if council so chose that I could get a topographic survey, start the engineering design, and present it to the park board for funding through multiple channels. So the 75,000 initially, the remainder of the park fund, at least on the budget side, and then asking the EDCs to equally split the rest. So that's how we got to this point here. I can tell you at each one of these meetings, there has been advocates for tennis on the city council meetings, kind of driving this. Where this court sits now, the double court that you see in your packet, that is rotated to the ideal angle where I guess the sun isn't the factor. That I guess that's the problem with the tennis. I'm not a tennis player myself, so I do not know anything. I've had to learn about tennis more than anything on this. So that's where it's at tonight, that the council asked the park board to I guess consider the double tennis court if they supported it, and if so, asking the EDCs to fund the cost difference. I think I covered everything.
This is Cindy. One other thing, Travis. They found that doing one tennis court was like $130,000-$140,000, but to do two would be more cost effective, correct?
That is correct. Thank you for remembering that from one of those council meetings. a
One
long
of those
time ago.
meetings, yes.
I thought the original was like 90,000 for the single court, or 80, somewhere around there. What happened? Did it go up? Just curious.
That was for the multi-use court, which was not technically a tennis court. And the original request was for a tennis court. So then that's when they went off in this other direction. And that was the reason for the more cost. There's more concrete on a tennis court than there is for a multi-use court.
So
Okay.
this is Sarah, and correct me if I'm wrong. I actually don't have any problem. I think that if we're going to spend $130,000 or $140,000 for a single tennis court, we might as well get two. But at $190,000, I'm going to point out that this does not include lighting. So it will be an unlit tennis court, which isn't super helpful. I see a lot of people that play tennis in the evening. I feel like lighting is important, so that's an additional fund. My other question is, this is just my opinion again, that we hope to redo that park one day. And that tennis court is really close to that park. And we're not going to have much room to expand or do anything different to that park area with that tennis court about, I don't know, maybe I'm misjudging my feet here. But it looks like it's about 2 feet away from where that park ends, maybe 5 feet if I'm stretching it a lot. But it looks really close to the park, so we're not going to have any room to replace that park and do much different with that space if that tennis court is that close to that park. Is that true, or am I making that up?
And you're referring to the playground equipment, correct?
Correct. The playground equipment in the back at Community Park, where the playground structure is there on the picture. So you see the little greenhouse is the restroom, and you walk down the path to the playground, and currently you walk down the path to the volleyball court. I guess I'm going to go ahead and just tell you all my concerns. My other concerns is that since I've been at the park a lot the past few weeks, lots of people are playing on that volleyball court, and there was not a volleyball net there. There were some kids out there just playing with their volleyball and volleying back and forth, utilizing that space. I know we don't like the kids to use it for a sandbox, but there were a bunch of kids playing soccer, and the younger kids were playing in the sandbox. Irrelevant, I guess, because we're getting rid of the sand. I get it. I just feel like, I don't know, I feel like it's a lot of work. I think it looks really nice, but it almost seems like there'd be a better place to put that than right there.
I would like to say I agree. I agree with Sarah. Like you mentioned earlier, Sarah, that you saw kids using that volleyball court quite a bit. And I mean, what would be next for the volleyball court? Is that just going away? Sorry, and I didn't mean to interrupt you, Sarah.
No, originally it was going to be a multi-purpose court where we were going to be able to get a tennis court and a volleyball court out of it, and it just morphed into an actual tennis court, which is fine, and we were all okay with that. It's fine, we'll get a tennis court. We can play, what's it that you guys play, Cindy? Pickleball. We're going to try to see if we can do pickleball and tennis on the same court. And then they said no, so now it's just a tennis court. I don't know whatever happened to the pickleball court. I'm trying to look through. I did pull the city council meeting minutes. And it looks like on February 1st, they looked at doing a full-size tennis court based on some residents' opinions. And on March the 1st, there was some discussion about some different scenarios. I guess that was where they were making it bigger. And then at this last meeting on March 15th, it looks like Barbara Long was representing the Parks Board and gave some input here. It says, Mayor Golden asked Barbara Long, who I guess was in attendance for our request, to provide input regarding this project. It doesn't say what input she provided, but Travis mentioned that there is no lighting included in the cost, and 2 entrances will be shown in an engineering plan so that you can enter that court from 2 sides. A resident spoke up and said she would rather, and this motion had already been passed, however, the resident was allowed to speak, and she said that she would like to see the funds used for organized sports for children. We could use those funds somewhere else. So at least one other citizen was opposed to the tennis court, or one resident, I say citizen, resident of Haslet. So I guess my question is, I don't mind the tennis courts. We can talk about these tennis courts for a long time, but I'm confused again, Travis. Is it just because of the participation in the city council meetings that these ended up taking up so much space. I know I expressed this to you separately, but we've got to move. The one thing, today I stopped by downtown, picked up some stuff from the offices, drove by the park, and there were guys out playing disc golf in the middle of the afternoon or morning. It was like 11 o'clock in the morning. There were more than one person playing disc golf. I don't know enough about disc golf to know if we move that platform, does it interfere with their game? Does it change their layout? I don't know. All I know is a lot of people use it, and we don't have a lot of disc golf in the area. I just hate to see us lose the disc golf, get this tennis court so close to the playground that we have limited space on expanding that playground. I do like the new pathway. I think that looks really cool, actually, but I don't know. I just wish that we could, on the other side of that river, there's a whole big empty field that nobody uses. Can we not just put the tennis courts over there if we don't want to put them next to that house? Was there a reason that's not an option?
All right.
Before you
Okay.
speak, Travis, can I just address one thing? The
Go ahead,
pickleball courts have not gone away. They can be put on top of the tennis courts. So we would actually gain 2, 4, 6, 8 pickleball courts over there. Because you can put 2 on either side of, you can put 4 on a tennis court.
Okay.
But they aren't going to go away. It'll just be a different painted line.
Got it.
This is Matt.
Volleyball will have to go away.
Can pickleball be done on the tennis courts if those posts for tennis are permanent? Or do they have to just design that a different way?
We just go a different direction.
This
The
is Barbara
posts won't
Long.
interfere with it at all.
This is Barbara Long. Actually, there can be 2 pickleball courts put on each tennis court.
Using the same nets or?
No, because the net's not the right height or size. So they would go across the opposite direction. They could be the same direction, but then if you, I wish I could show you, you could have one going the same direction on each, one on the north side and one on the south side of the tennis court. But then what you have is a danger of the tennis net being damaged by somebody running backwards into it. And you don't want that. And so it's better to put them across and have your pickleball nets going perpendicular to the tennis net. And so you could have, as long as they put enough space between the 2 tennis courts, you can put one on the south end of each tennis court and one on the north end of each tennis court. So you would have 4 pickleball courts any way you lay them out.
Okay, so this is Matt. I am concerned that the design maybe is not incorporating some of those things, because I know my parents play pickleball. It's actually pretty popular with a lot of folks. So I'd also make sure that, and this is where I get a little confused on the nets for the pickleball, if somehow the posts or whatever would interfere with tennis play, and I guess the tennis nets can stay because you're putting them, but how can you do the pickleball nets perpendicular without interfering with the tennis surface?
Because you don't, this is Barbara again, you don't put permanent pickleball nets. We'll continue to use our temporary ones, but the lines will be permanent, but the nets will be bring your own net like we've been doing.
So
and
Barbara,
I apologize for being late. I've just had a crazy day and I lost track of time. So I'm sorry.
Well, Barbara, this is Sarah. I'm glad that you're here, because on March 15th, it shows that you represented the Parks Board at the council meeting, but it doesn't say what you said. So if you wouldn't mind telling us what took place that day, that would be great. Because I'm confused as to how this came about when it was going to be on the other side. And if you could bring us up to date.
I can. The reason the place by the house was eliminated is because the only way the tennis courts could fit would be an east-west position, and that is not a desirable placement. All tennis courts are placed northwest, not northwest, north-south position, and because of where we're located, it's actually a rotation of 17 degrees, either to the left or to the right, but basically a north-south, because you cannot play tennis and you can't serve or return a ball looking up into the sun. It's just not possible to do. So tennis courts are always placed north-south or pretty close to north-south. And so that's why that other location had to be eliminated, because there's not enough space to put it north-south.
And why is it in that particular location? Like, why couldn't it be over by where the highway is, on the other side of that creek, where there's all that dead space? Does it not fit there?
I don't know where you're talking about.
So if you're going around the trail, if you're walking on the trail, as the trail turns off to go under the bridge, if you keep walking straight to the left, there's a big open area, and to the right, there's a huge open area. Could we not put
like where we do parking?
Yes, like where we do parking for the Wild West Fest. Could we not put the tennis courts in that area of the park?
I don't know. I was not involved in selecting places, but just providing feedback on why that one spot. I do believe our engineer was asked to look to see if there were some other locations, and I don't know why that would not have been considered. I do know that they look for a pretty flat area, because if it's sloped, you're going to have increased costs.
So there's a couple things. The reason it's kind of where it is because that's where this project, when it started out as a multi-sport court, was supposed to be located, was to replace that volleyball surface, which, despite being useful, is also, I think, a very big maintenance nightmare. I think David would talk to that. But that's not neither here nor there. So that's why they're located where they're at. The other piece of information that when I was looking around the park to try to find is if you put it over where the Wild West Rodeo goes, or where does the rodeo go after that? If you put it in the area next to anywhere really next to the creek, that is subject to flooding, and that would just we would have to probably do an actual flood study, because fences like to catch things and create issues. So it can go anywhere in the park. There's just so many other factors that you have to look at when you're trying to lay these out. This area is out of the floodplain, had the right orientation, the 17 degrees. Didn't block any of the soccer or football fields. So that's kind of how it's there. If you want to say the funding should be good, but you would rather have a different location, that's fine. You can also, the other thing to consider is parking. So if you're putting in a tennis court and you have to walk a quarter mile to get to it, how useful is it? That's that's something to also consider.
This is Barbara again, and if I could just say that the floodplain issue is an important one, and so I am glad that Travis was wise enough to put it in a place where it's not in the floodplain, because what you absolutely don't want, I mean, this is a big investment, and so you want it to be to last, 30 years or more. And if you have water washing out underneath the concrete, then it's gonna cause that concrete to crack eventually if the dirt is washing away from floods underneath it. So we do want to make sure that investment is protected. And so I think this is a great location, and it's not too far from the restrooms, and I do think that there would be ways for that playground to be expanded, because a playground it could be on both sides of the sidewalk. For example, if we put in something bigger, everything doesn't have to be contained in one little circle like our other one is, because this one is for older kids. And so swings or whatever could be on the other side of the sidewalk very easily, or whatever kind of equipment might be added to that in the future.
This is Sarah. I have 2 questions. How tall is the fencing?
I believe it's 12 feet, but I'm looking it up right now.
And the other question is is the trees being replaced? Is that the workup to move that disc golf fee? Is that in your estimate here as well, to relocate that disc golf area?
It is not in the estimate.
How much more will that cost?
David Rogers can attest to the disc golf moving. Maybe I will ask him to.
Yes, I can tell you about that, and another reason why it kind of has to stay somewhere south of the creek. I mean, you could put it out there where the soccer fields are, but that's kind of going to ruin that area for soccer or any other kind of field sports. So there is a limit because of the floodplain area. But if you go to the other side of the creek to the south, you're just moving farther and farther and farther away from where there is any possibility of any electric hookup without spending large amounts of money to bring power. On that side of the creek, the closest power is all the way back to Avondale, Haslet, and 156. There is no other power close by to be gotten without either boring under 156 or extending the main electric power down 156, which would both be quite costly. Over on the north side, we got electricity all along that end of town. So getting the power is not as hard of a process. As far as, the maintenance of the volleyball, it is a big headache. The sand blows all over the park, which we also get complaints about. But also the sand ends up in all of the water fountains and any other things in the park. So cleaning out sinks, even toilets, they like to go dump piles and piles of sand into our toilets. And then moving stuff as far as the disc golf goes, we've already done it before in the past. This wouldn't be the first move. My staff alone, we moved and reoriented. The original was only a 9-hole course. We did all the work to reorient, remove, relay all of them, and added the additional pours, but some of them had to be relocated as far as direction. We actually were able to go in and lift up the actual concrete pads, scrape ground, go over, relay into sand, back down, level them all back out, and move them over. So they're not difficult to move. And we've already marked out. I have, on staff, I have 3 people that is their favorite thing to do is disc golf all over the place. But we also talked to the BNSF, has their team that comes to practices, and the movement for them, actually, they would like it in a way because it would move them slightly farther away from the playground and some of the other areas there where sometimes they have to wait for people to kind of get out of their way when they're playing.
Well, this
I
is
have another.
Barbara. I would just like to say that I appreciate the work that y'all are doing on this, and I'm grateful that after 21 years that this project is finally moving forward, and I look forward to seeing the some actual bids coming in, because I really think the bids for the actual tennis courts will come in under this. They're usually about $75,000 each. So probably more like 150,000 in my opinion. Now I could be, but it's better to go into this with a nice cushion, because you know I could be wrong. I hope I'm not, but you know, and then of course talking about the electricity, there are not going to be lights installed initially, but you know that's something I'm going to be looking for on the bids when they do come in, that they include the preparation work so that anything that would need to be underneath the concrete is already there, so that lights can be easily added at some point in the future. So anyway, thank you to the Haslet staff that's been working so hard on that, and hopefully we're getting ready to actually put out the request for bids pretty soon, now that that the city council is fully on board.
Okay, this is Sarah again. I have 2 more questions still. The path or the trail that's put on there, I don't know if David or Travis can answer this. Currently, there is a 1-mile mapping. Is that going to have to be remapped, or is that the same distance by moving that trail?
I haven't looked at that, but I'm just looking at it right now. It looks like it'll actually be maybe a little bit longer.
Will we have to replace the mile markers in the park?
I'm guessing there's a factor, there's an error factor that, you know, if it's not 5,280 feet, but it's 5,295 feet, I'm not sure we need to redo those markers.
Okay. And then my other comment on this location is that my daughter plays tennis, so I don't want anyone to think that I'm not excited about a tennis court. But when we play tennis, the balls go over the fence inevitably every time. And as a parent whose kids no longer really are that concerned for it, I don't really want my kids playing that close to flying tennis balls coming over the fence and hitting them in the head. They get whacked pretty hard when people are playing tennis. Is there a way to put the tennis court on the other side of the existing trail where it's not interfering with the soccer field, but is not interfering with the playground or the road?
No.
Who said no?
Barbara Long.
Okay, I'm sorry, the question is for Travis or for David.
And I certainly do not want to interfere with the other sports that are already there, because you know, even at city council, there was one resident who spoke about her concern about not having soccer fields, and of course it was not appropriate. I couldn't speak. She was recognized out of sequence, and so I so wanted to respond to her and let her know that yes, there are soccer fields that are used out here at the community park that are west of this already, and that there are lots of soccer fields being planned for Firehouse Station. So that certainly is not being ignored, and this is not this is not affecting the development of future soccer fields. But I certainly wouldn't want this to be put in a place that would interfere with soccer.
I would like to interject and apologize for interrupting, Barbara, but I was told by Travis that those plans for Firehouse Field area is no longer.
Well,
there's
two questions.
still, the plan is still there. There's no funding available.
Right.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So I have, well, why can't the tennis courts go on behind Firehouse over there with the rest of the sports? So that way, maybe we could get some people to look over there. You know, maybe they would, if they had these tennis courts, then maybe they put bathrooms in over there, because it seems like that's what adults want here, not necessarily the kids. But I mean, I think it's being overlooked over there. So if we start sports, even with tennis, why are we not directing it behind Firehouse instead of covering up a volleyball court, or putting it next to a playground, or moving the course? I don't understand.
Okay,
It's like
well,
nobody
this is
pay
Barbara
attention to that.
again, and I can say to that, speak to it, because I've been working on this for 20 years. First of all, change happens very slowly, and that is evidenced by me trying to working towards getting tennis courts for 20 years, 21 years. And part of the problem with putting them at Firehouse Field now is that there's no infrastructure. And so there's no restrooms, no nothing. And so, you know, until all of the infrastructure is funded, construction can't really be recommended there.
But we put our kids up
I'm
there.
just feeling really discouraged that there seems to be so much. So this was something that we voted unanimously to support, and now I'm hearing that maybe there's not as much support as we've had changes to this board. And
okay, as chair, Barbara, I'm going to
it's just a little discouraging. And another thing I'd like to say is this is not just an adult sport. My granddaughter started tennis lessons when she was 4 years old. And so this is something that is inexpensive, that all families can go out and do. I played tennis with my family growing up. Just none of us had any training, but we would go out and play tennis because you just needed an inexpensive racket and an inexpensive tennis ball, because everything else is out there. And so I am just so grateful that after all this time that it does seem to be moving forward. And I hope that this board will continue to support it.
Okay, so as chair, I'm going to go ahead and chair here, Sarah. I'm the chair. I'm going to go ahead and take back over. The unanimous vote that Barbara is referring to is to actually get rid of the sand in the volleyball area. We never really wanted to get rid of the volleyball area. We wanted that to be turned into a multi-purpose court so that we could play pickleball and we could still play volleyball, and then hopefully play tennis. We then found out that we could not do all of those things together, and we sort of went the tennis court route. Originally, my understanding was that we would have both, not one or the other, but now I see that it's turned into a double tennis court. So my question that I asked initially was for either Travis or David: can the double tennis court be placed on the other side of the existing trail without interfering with the existing area that people play soccer on? Like move it over to the west, to the other side of that trail.
Okay, if you did that.
Yes.
Right now, the orientation north-south is for a full-size soccer field, which not everybody plays on because little kids play soccer. So when you rotate that orientation east-west, you have 2 soccer fields, or you could have up to 8, I believe, soccer fields in there, depending on how you lay them out. So you actually, yes, you would be interfering with a soccer field layout if you flipped it to the other side of the trail. Is that right, David?
Yes, under the current layout, that would be the case. You could, if you did move it, then you're going to have to reorient how and the size of soccer. You'd have to go down to youth soccer fields. I believe you could squeeze 2 of them. Little kids, yeah, I think you could get 6, but it all depends on layout. But that also has the same deal of floodplain takes over part of that also. So it all depends on as far as permanence and non-permanence as far as soccer would go.
And the fields we have now not permanent, right?
Yeah, soccer now is not in a completely permanent setup. It's just more of a semi-permanent. They got 2 goals that are set in the ground, but they're able.
This is Cindy. Okay, I've been out there on Saturday, and that whole soccer field is full of kids. If we go over there on the other side of that, we're going to raise a whole bunch of trouble. My other comment is, when I used to play tennis a lot, my children were very small, and I loved having the playground close where I could still keep an eye on them. They knew what their boundaries were, and I could still see where they were. So I like the fact that the playground is close to the tennis courts, and I think it'll get a lot of use, like Barbara was talking about, with families. And you don't have to be 4, 5, 6, 7, all the way up to 70 and more, because I'm getting close to that, to play pickleball. And we can play pickleball on the tennis court. So we did lose the volleyball, but the same kids that are playing on those sand fields can move a volleyball net out into some grass, and they can hit the ball around if they want to. But that sand has caused more problems for the city and the park than you never had a drinking fountain that worked, because kids were pouring sand in there. It's a wonderful thought, and if people had taken care of it, we probably wouldn't be wanting to get rid of it. But I'm all for the tennis courts.
I know this has nothing to do with all this, but if we wanted to have a sand volleyball court, that's one thing that could be on the other side of the creek, because you don't need to carry nothing but one ball with you to play. You don't need a lot of anything. And over there, it's too far to carry it back to the water fountain in the bathroom.
And it would just end up in the creek.
This is Barbara. If I could also address the concern that a ball flying over the fence might hurt somebody. I will say, when the ball is lofted up that high, it loses its speed. And so I've been hit in the face with a tennis ball when it didn't go up. But I really don't see that would be, and I don't think a tennis ball going over the net would ever be able to cause an injury. It might cause a surprise, but it wouldn't cause an injury.
So this is Matt. I've got 2 younger kids. I really like where the tennis court is. I share the opinion that it being near the playground's actually a good thing. I know there's a minor risk of a flying ball, but I think I like the location generally where it is. Near the playground really doesn't concern me. I think it's as much of a plus as a negative. So I'm excited for this. I wouldn't want to do anything or support anything that could potentially stop this, like discussing moving it to a whole other location. So I'm on board to try to get this moving forward.
Katrina, this is Barbara. Do we need a motion about this? What do we need to do with this, or is this just discussion?
Absolutely, we need a motion to act on recommendation to approve the engineer's cost report, and also spend the remaining budgeted funds for the project, and to recommend that council ask EDC. So we have 3 different items there, and yes, we do need motion.
Well, hasn't City Council already done that? I mean, if I read from their minutes, it's like
if you read item number 9, it still has to be written that Park Board made the recommendation to ask council to ask EDC. Basically, it has to still be in writing that we wanted that to happen before they go paying for Park Board stuff.
Okay.
Park, infrastructure.
Okay. I don't know if I can word a motion that includes all of that, but I'll try.
We can absolutely have 3 different motions.
Yes.
Can you wait Barbara, hold on. I just want to put you on pause for a second, if you don't mind. I had one quick question. On 9B, Katrina, could you tell me where the 32,000 is coming from? The city parks improvement. What is that our budgeted money?
Yes, yes, it is. And it is, if you look at the budget, I think I circled it on my copy. It says, actually, I think the math changed a little bit from the time this was typed up until, sorry, my page isn't.
It's Fund 15.
Okay, so on the second page where we have, let's see, well, and we have more money in the account now because of the March actual that was added. But we are only asking, see where it says ending resources under the adopted budget for this year in the middle of the page? That's the money we're talking about. It says 32,750 in the agenda, but it says 32,570 on the budget.
Got it. So that's using all of our parks funds for all of our parks to finish funding that.
You'll have more just based on how much money has come in.
Okay.
This is the park improvement fee. This is what development pays, $1,000 per lot for that type of thing.
Every house that gets built is contributing, so more money will, fall into that.
Okay, so before anyone makes any motions, I want to say that now that Barbara Long is here, she will be resuming her position of voting, and that will put Chris as only a contributor, and we will not count his vote at this time moving forward. So go ahead, Barbara.
Can I say a couple more things before you make a motion?
Yeah, you can say anything. Go ahead, Chris.
I want to say 3 things, and then I'll let y'all go to a vote. Number 1, from the strategic plan, it states that facilities, parks, and open spaces with high usage should be improved before those with less, thereby benefiting the greater number of our residents. Number 2, with this, especially with it being double, the cost of the electricity and the poles eventually, because we know it's going to happen, it will come up. So that's another potentially 100,000 that we'll be spending on the tennis court. And number 3, I just want to finish, please. Number 3, the reason, Barbara, you asked me earlier, or you didn't ask me, you said that everyone was on the same page. I've always been told if you want to change, if you are asked and have certain thoughts, that you should join to make change. And that's the reason I'm here, because in the neighborhood I'm in, I would say 90% of the people over here are in full agreement with me when it comes to this, to our children. And that's the reason I was, these funds, and I've brought up before about the fields and over behind Firehouse. I'm not saying a tennis court wouldn't be something that would be great. Don't get me wrong. I don't see any issue with it, but I would love to fix the things that we have, or put this in a place where people can look at it and know and see and advance that area. So by putting it over here, you're never going to advance the area over there. Our kids come home with bug bites on their ankles from ants, from red ants. They fall in dips in the thing. They don't have lights. They drive through trash before they get to their fields. So I just want everybody to have that on their mind, and keep in mind that strategic plan memo that's there. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
This is Barbara. Thank you so much for saying that. And I would just like, because you are newer to the board, and I welcome you to the board, and we do need to have her. That's why I got on the board also, to make change happen. And I want you to know that I fully supported the new playground that we just put in. And so we are not doing this not thinking about young children. But see, I have a different view of these tennis courts, that it's for all ages, not just for middle school, high school, and adults. I think the time to start tennis is very young. And so, but I agree. And I would like to say, if I could say one more thing, I would like to say that the next project that I think we should work on is to see what we can do to get the development of that field house, firehouse field moving forward. And I think that's a great idea. And so maybe that can be our next discussion on what we can do in the coming year and beyond to get that project moving forward as well. But again, I've worked on this project trying to get this in before Firehouse Field was even a dream. And things take a long time. This has taken 21 years to get this put in place. And so I hope that there will be enough support to have this move forward. Thank you.
So, and just real quick follow up, and that's what I meant by if we even visited the thought of putting these tennis courts down at Firehouse Field, it may enhance everything, all sports. And that's my last thing I'll say. And y'all go ahead. Thank you.
Hey, Chris, I do want to address that just real quickly, just with Sarah. We've been looking at Firehouse Field. I mean, I've been on the board for about 2 or 3 years now. And we've been looking at it. We really have. It's not been something that we've just forgotten. But it seems like it's a long time coming. And it seems like there's a lot of work and a lot of planning. And currently, the way it is, in light of what you're saying, getting access to everyone, nobody uses the Firehouse Fields right now except for people who are playing baseball, because you have to go past the firehouse to get there, and it's not easily visible. My husband pointed out today that putting that tennis court here where it is an attraction, because people see tennis courts and you can see the tennis court from the road, and it draws you into it. It makes your park look nice. It makes it look like it's a nice place to be. Like I said from the beginning, I'm not against the tennis court at all. So another resident's opinion I'm sharing on behalf of my spouse, who's not here to share, that he felt like that area was a good area as well, because he felt like it was drawing people into that area. And knowing that our daughter enjoys playing tennis, he thought, well, great, we're going to have a place for her to go without having to drive to Timbuktu. He didn't say those words, those are my words, but really we drive far to let her play tennis. So it would be great to have it there. But as far as getting everyone involved, I do understand the Firehouse Field issue, because I have been out there and they're not really well kept. There's been some sports association issues related to that, where we were told they were going to take care of it, and then they didn't. And then some other things happened, and so we kind of let them handle it, and then found out that wasn't going to take place the way we thought. So we have been addressing that area. I don't want you to think that we've neglected that, but I do agree with Barbara. I think that at this point, the tennis courts are kind of where we've been looking at as the next thing. You know, Barbara really, and I'm not picking on you, Barbara really pushed for those tennis courts. And we were like, no way, Barbara, we need the park first. And Barbara sat down and she said, okay, let's get the kids a park. But then at our next opportunity, she said, you know what, we really need to get these tennis courts. And that's when we agreed with her that, yes, we got a new park for the kids. Let's put the tennis courts in, and then let's go to the next thing. So I think that was a great point, Barbara, that should be our next place to look, is maybe the Firehouse Field and getting better access. I know that they're building a new firehouse. I don't know if that means the old one's still going to be there and that one's going to be removed, or if there's going to be 2 firehouses. I don't know if anyone else knows the answer to that, but that might be something else to consider as to why that's not a good place at this time, not knowing the future of that situation. So that's all I have to say. Anyway. Is that helpful at all, Chris?
I mean, yeah, and this is what I didn't mean it to be just about the baseball fields. I didn't mean it to go that direction. I guess what I was getting at is that if you start putting sports in a sports area, like around there, if you put these tennis court, you know, y'all were talking about the multiple issues of potentially of these courts being there and taking away some of the things and the cost and stuff. So I was thinking, well, you know, if your plan, I mean, you said the plan's there, the value is not, or the price is not. If you put it down there, then that starts moving that forward. It starts moving into a complex, into where you're starting to build the infrastructure. That's showing it's showing the especially all these new members of Haslet that, hey, yes, we're pushing to get y'all some sports here in a central location. I think by putting it there, it's showing that it's kind of like, yep, we're still putting that stuff on the back burner. And that's it. My goal on this was not to just, granted, I'm all about baseball and the kids soccer and sports and all these different things. It was just, as I've been on the council meetings and listening to them, it's just like the tennis courts has changed so many. Seems like every time I hear something, it's like, oh, we're starting with this, and then we go to this, and then we're, okay, let's make it double. And then you've got these extra funds that you're allocating to it with something that was started off kind of, financially feasible, but it just keeps going up and up. But if you're going to do that, why not just put it down there? So then you can start investing in that down there. Because as long as you keep putting sports up here, that down there is never going to be fixed. And
Chris,
if the plan is in place, then why not?
Chris, this is Barbara, and I would be happy to agree with that if there was any infrastructure there. To me, the first things that have to go in there is to put in some roads and parking, and then things can begin to put there. But I'm not going to take my car in and park and drive in an area that doesn't have a paved road.
300 kids do it.
And before
daily.
that, we need water and sewer.
And yeah, we need water and sewer. I mean, there's lots of infrastructure. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. 300
yeah,
kids.
And I agree. And I think that should be the next thing we work on.
Yeah. So why are we not just taking that? Why are we not starting with this though? You put that down there, and then you can use some.
Chris, when I started asking for tennis courts, there was no firehouse field, and so I don't want to put that on hold because now there's a possibility of a firehouse field in 20 more years because I'll be dead by then. And so I'd like to see this project continue to move forward. And then I promise you, you're going to have my full support once this project gets funded. I mean, it is funded, but once it is moving forward, you know, we have the bids approved and all of that, then I am going to be the biggest supporter that you have in getting that infrastructure started for Firehouse Field, because I do think that that is important to begin to move forward. But I don't want this to be delayed again, because I think the kinds of fields that will go in there are doable once we get the infrastructure in. That's going to be the costly part. And, you know, and the infrastructure is not something that the Parks Board has typically done. That's been that either the A or the B committee. I don't know which. You know, that hasn't been our charge for infrastructure. But I guess we'll turn it back to you, Sarah. Where are we in our meeting?
So we have 3 motions that have to take place. It's not funded yet, Barbara. We have to request that. So the first motion would be for someone to approve the engineer report. The second one on 9B, Katrina, should the actual number be 570 or 750?
The number in the budget, I believe, is the one I would go with because
So
that's the accurate.
32,570 would be what we're asking.
You could just say 32 if you want, you know.
Oh, okay.
I don't think anybody's splitting 700.
So there are 3 parts. We have to motion to approve to have this tennis court built, surveyed, placed here for all of these thousands of dollars. and then move the money from the park fund over, and then request a third motion that the Economic Development Board participate in the funding for an amount up to the remaining $90,000. So there are 3 different motions.
This is Cindy. I'd like to make a motion that we accept the plans that Travis has presented to us and support this to the City Council.
Barbara, I'll second.
So Cindy motions, Barbara seconds. I will agree. Garrick,
I agree.
Erica,
I agree.
and Matt.
I agree.
Okay.
It's unanimous.
It has passed that we approve this the way it is. Do we have another motion to move our own funds over?
This is Cindy. I'd like to make a motion that we move $32,000 from the Park Board to partially fund this project.
Barbara, I'll second it.
Cindy motions, Barbara seconds. Matt,
Agree.
Erica,
Agree.
Garrick,
Agree.
and Sarah agree. And then we need to get the rest of the funds.
I'll try
That makes
to
it-
word that.
Well, first of all, you need to say that makes it unanimous.
Oh,
Unanimous.
that motion passed.
Yes.
All right, for the third motion regarding this, I would like to move that we request that City Council request funds from the EDCs to fund the balance that will be needed to fund the tennis court project.
This is Cindy. I second.
Wait, I'm sorry, Cindy, before we do that, are we requesting City Council or are we requesting, who do we make our request to, Katrina?
If you're making a recommendation to City Council to request from the EDCs that they participate.
Okay. So
It
the
has
way
to go
Barbara,
through council.
exactly the way Barbara said. Perfect.
Yes.
And this is Cindy. I second.
Barbara motion, Cindy second. I agree. Garrick,
I agree.
Erica,
I agree.
Matt,
Agree.
perfect. That motion also passed. All right, number 10, discuss, consider, and act upon recommendation to City Council for approval of a fireworks display on National Night Out, which is in October. And is that our estimate, Travis?
Yes, it's in your packet.
Okay, so there's $15,000 for the pyro show.
So basically, this is going to be funded out of the 4th of July funds, except we're going to use the vendor to provide the show in October.
Because July is canceled.
Correct.
More than, yes, July is canceled. So on this one, I did have, when I was looking at the dates, I did check. Sunset is 7:08 p.m. National Night Out runs from 6 to 8. So by 8 o'clock, it should be sufficiently dark, I think, to have the fireworks show. We have talked about locations. This time, we're not going to commit to a location of where that's going to be, but just know that staff is working on that, and it will be visible from Community Park.
Any discussion on that one?
I think it's a great idea. This is Cindy.
Yeah, I think it's great. We get to use our funds over, so. Anyone want a motion to move that forward?
This is Garrick. I make a motion that we accept the bid that's been presented for the fireworks for National Night Out.
This is Barbara. I'll second it.
Cindy?
Yes, I agree.
Erica?
Yes, I agree.
Matt?
I agree.
And I, Sarah, agree. That motion also is approved.
Thank you.
Okay. And then the next thing in your packet on page 41 is a toy soldier. So for those of you who don't know, we do put up Christmas decorations along, why do I never remember the name of that street?
Westport Parkway.
Westport
Pole
Parkway.
decoration.
We have pole decorations. They usually are matching in sets along the way. I think we ordered these last year and something happened. We didn't get them, so we need to order them again. Is that right?
Yes, the company that we ordered it from, that we've been ordering from for over 10 years, I don't really know what happened, but I talked to the city attorney, and it's $400 we lost out on. We're still trying to collect that, but we're probably not going to take legal action over $400. We paid the deposit to by half, 50%. So we're just going to go with the new company. And so this item is for proposal to purchase these two items from All American Christmas instead of Crystal Valley Decorating.
I think what happened to them was COVID.
Right.
Well, that's a very likely explanation, but I haven't been able to find anything officially,
Well, he looks like a handsome soldier, so I like him.
This
Do we
will
have
fit
a-
with the size and everything of what we currently have.
David, do we have any way to light those? It says here that we have an option to have it lit or unlit. Is there any way to light them?
All of ours are unlit, so we're going.
Be easily done. Anything to do because the higher voltage, you'd have to have transformers to step the power down to even make it possible. So it would be expensive to do.
But they're actually lit by the lights that are above them, right? We put them on the light poles.
Yes, always.
I just saw the option, was wondering.
They're very visible when you come down Westport Parkway.
Yeah, they are.
They'll be consistent with the other decorations.
I thought we were getting nutcrackers from the other people. But I like the soldiers too.
I think it was the most comparable substitute we could find.
Yeah. Well, this is Barbara.
This is Cindy. Go ahead.
If there aren't any other questions, I move that we accept the proposal to purchase two toy soldiers from this new company as shown in the packet, and that money, that bid be funded from our park funds.
That comes from your city signs and decoration line.
Right, from the city signs and decoration line of our park funds. I just wasn't specific.
That's okay. I like to put it out there when it's available.
Yeah.
This is Cindy. I'd like to talk this motion.
Doesn't need a dollar amount, Katrina.
No, we know that it's going to cost, $408 times 2 plus shipping, and they haven't given us the exact amount of the shipping. So no, just know that
we could say about $1,000, and
Perfect.
it will be less than that.
So Barbara motions.
$1,000.
Barbara motions. Cindy seconds. I approve. Erica.
Yes, I approve.
Matt.
Proof.
Garrett.
Approved.
So we approve that one as well. Passes. All right. Future projects. Easter egg hunt was canceled this year. Not really anything to do about that yet. Same with Wild West Fest. Memorial Day celebration looks like it will still need to be a virtual event. Cindy, did you need any help with that? How's that going? Do we have an update?
I know that the stone is ready and can be put into the park whenever we deem, the timing is correct. And I would love to have some help. I really don't know how to do that, other than just walking down the path and talking while you're filming. So I am up for suggestions and help if you guys want to.
I mean, I think it would be nice to have, is it the mayor that usually speaks and then a veteran that speaks? Is that normally how it goes? Could we do the same thing but in a virtual format?
We probably could. I'll speak to the mayor, and I have a good friend who's a veteran that has attended and spoken before, that he would probably like to speak. And it can be that simple. We can just have, pictures of the memorial and have them speaking over that. And I will work on that.
So do you think we would do it pre-recorded, or would we do it, film it on May 31st and have it like live?
I think it would be wise to pre-record it.
Okay. Works for me.
We want to pick a date for that, like, I don't know, May 20th or 19th or something, the week before.
We certainly can do that. Yeah. I guess I just assumed that it would be put on the city website, and we could do that the week prior and make the announcement that, people could go on there and look at it and have it continue.
We can have it go live, on the morning of Memorial Day.
Cindy, will you be able to speak to the stone and the gold star portion of it?
Absolutely.
Okay. Does anyone else would like to participate and help Cindy with that?
So at the next meeting will be May the 12th. We can plan on, nailing down the volunteers and the event recording at that meeting if you guys want.
That would be perfect. That way we'll all know where we're going to be. Okay.
And if I do get something, just semi-ready, how would we look at it? I mean, you know what I'm saying?
No, like, you mean how do we, so we'll record it and put it all into like a PowerPoint.
But then how would we view it as a park board?
You mean in advance?
Yes.
I guess we could email it.
Okay, we'd have to, share it and log in to edit it.
Okay.
This is Barbara. Did you give a date that it might be filmed?
We're going to pick that at the next meeting.
Okay.
We'll have a better idea
unless you guys have one, go ahead.
I'm just nervous about weather and who's going to go out of town if their plans change or don't change. I think waiting is probably an okay idea.
And I'll work on some ideas and talk to some people about doing some speeches or, little blips.
And Cindy, this is Barbara. I'm happy to help you, but I will likely be doing some traveling at the beginning part of May. So just so you know that. But I would like to help.
Thank you.
Okay. So we will move forward with a released recording on May 31st. The Fireworks Independence Day has been canceled. So move those fireworks to the National Night Out, which is on October 5th. And Movie in the Park will be September 17th. And in your packet here We do have an exclusive sponsor. Is that right, Katrina? That has
We
paid for
do.
this?
Martin Realty Group has wanted to be the exclusive sponsor, and they have sent in their information. And so I think we're pretty much done on that. We're not going to offer free popcorn due to COVID. And
Okay.
also in the packet, I included the movie company suggestions on how to do the movie under COVID precautions, and then along with the list of movies that you guys can discuss. Of course, and I mentioned to Sarah that Martin Realty Group would like to weigh in on the movie selection. I don't know how y'all want to, narrow it down to 1, 2, or 3 or something like that. I don't know.
We have In and Out that day?
We do have In and Out for movie in the park, yes.
I'm looking at this Swank recommendations of avoiding outdoor furniture and blankets. And I guess I don't understand how that's really possible. I don't think anyone's going to come and just sit on the grass.
I know, and you're bringing your own blanket. So, yeah, I agree. I thought what we might do, and David might be able to speak to it, is maybe we can chalk out squares out there or something, but we haven't, it's so far away that we haven't really talked about it that much.
Probably we would use water-soluble paint, most likely. It lasts a little bit longer, stays, and it doesn't cause the dust problem that chalk does.
There you go.
Should we have a registration system where when they get there, they get a section, like a numbered section? Or is that over the top?
Yeah. I don't see us doing that. Definitely not online. I think we'll just have to get a little bit closer to the event and see how things are going in the county with group gatherings and all of that, and what the recommendations are at the time.
Okay. All right, so my vote for the movie is the same as it was last time. It's here on this most popular list, and that was for Raya. I don't know if anyone else who has kids or who plans to be in attendance has an input on that.
Can you repeat the last part? I couldn't hear.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was just saying that in the packet, so when we have these movies in the park, it's kind of something that I enjoy having. My kids have always liked going. We've been going for years now. We pick a movie, but we have to pay for the rights to show that movie. So we use this company in the packet that's there on page 42, 43, and 44. They're Swank Motion Pictures. So we basically
you have to have a license to show it.
Right. We pay for the license to show the movie. And so we pick the movie that we think is going to be the most popular at the time of the event. On page 44, there's some throwback movies, like old movies that were released a while ago. There haven't been a lot of new releases with COVID, but things like The Mighty Ducks or The Goonies, older movies that we've all seen. But then on page 43, there's some of the newer ones that were released this year, or that are tending to be more popular, like Onward, Sonic the Hedgehog, The Croods New Age, which is super cute. But Raya was the one that I had mentioned at the last meeting as the next latest release movie. Looks like it's going to be available with them on July the 12th, which is plenty of time to get it in. Does anyone else who has any kids have any feedback on what movie they would like to see? And then we can submit maybe 2 or 3, maybe 2 to the sponsor and let them choose between those. And then normally Katrina will buy the DVD, if I'm correct, and then we donate that to the library.
Unless the library already has it, but usually
The
when it's a
library
new release, no.
Yeah.
This is Barbara. I would like to defer to those of you that have young children. Even my grandchildren are probably too old for most of these. But I would say that I would guess that most kids haven't seen Goonies because of the age of that. And I think it's a great movie. So
yeah, I don't think that you have to have children to contribute your opinion personally, but
well, no, but I'm just saying I'm giving my opinion. But if there's others that have kids that say, I know my children would like to see Cats and Dogs 3, then I would certainly support that over my opinion. That's all I was saying.
Or like, just try to think of what the generic, public would get us the most turnout is kind of how I like to think of it. What do you think will appeal to the most broad audience?
So
Yeah.
this is Matt. I think Raya is a good choice. It being new, we have Disney Plus, but we don't have the Premiere, so it's on there, but you got to pay the extra for Premiere. So I think Raya would appeal to a broad range of people, and it's also new. So there may be someone that says, "Oh, I haven't seen that. Maybe I'll go see it." So I would vote for Raya or Raya. I'm not sure how to pronounce it.
Me too.
My other thought was that when that Tom and Jerry movie came out, I thought, oh, that'd be cute, but I'm not going to pay to see it. But if it was free at the park, I would come watch it.
Yeah, I used to be
That's
really
the one,
into Tom
that's
and
the one I was gonna say. Either that or The Great Field of Dreams.
The Great Field of
Tom and
Dreams.
Jerry. Yeah, no,
Definitely.
that's my favorite. But Tom and Jerry or that Sonic, I know both of them kind of came out during the COVID stuff. So I know a lot of kids haven't seen that stuff.
I mean, honestly, y'all, I was looking for a G-rated movie because I think that's the easiest family all around, and none of them were. So there's that.
There is that.
I still believe made me cry like crazy. So we want to have good spirits on that day, don't we? It's very heartwarming.
So Sarah,
Which one?
do we want to select one, or do we want to select several and let the vendor,
Did they give you any feedback, Katrina? Did they say what they wanted?
I mean, last year when we had to cancel, I don't remember what the movie was, but they had agreed with your recommendation.
Okay.
So I would maybe do it like that. Like, this is the recommendation, and unless they, or some reason have something else totally in mind, I think she'll be pretty flexible. And we don't have to say yes, she gets to, she can put a vote in, but it doesn't have to be the deciding factor. But no, I brought it to y'all first.
She didn't say anything yet.
so is
No,
there
I brought
any,
it to the park board first.
okay, this is Barbara. I just have a question for the group. So is there anyone who prefers something over Raya?
Guess not.
Okay, well then I will make a motion that we recommend or we select Raya for our movie in the park event and buy a license so that we can show that legally.
AYA.
If we pay for the license, can it be any one of these movies, or are the fees different based on the movie?
Sometimes they are a little bit different, but for the most part, everything was $4.50 on the front page, and then the throwbacks, some were $3.95, but some were $4.50, and I think those are the only two prices. But not a lot of difference, and I didn't go into detail to write the price difference down over, $35 or whatever.
Sure. Oh, I see that Aladdin is G on the back of that, and if no one has seen that, just by the way, I still watch that, the human version of Aladdin, not the cartoon version. It's pretty great. But I still think Raya or whatever it's called would be my first choice.
So we have a motion. So Barbara made a motion, so I'm going to second it.
Okay, Barbara made a motion. Cindy's going to second it. That we recommend Raya as the movie in the park and the licensure purchasing.
Very good. And the only other thing we need are volunteers to work the event, but it's still a ways away, so we can cover that later.
We do need to vote.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So, Cindy, Barbara, I agree. Garrett?
I agree.
Erica?
I agree.
And Matt?
Agree.
Perfect. So that one carries. All right, we've got the Haslet Hustle 5K and Fun Run scheduled for October 23rd. There is a form here that Katrina made up. I'm guessing it's what we're going to plan on using last year. The 5K, $20 early bird until August 1st, $25 until August 13th, and then $30 from October 24th to 23rd. We'll start at 9 a.m. and the 1 mile fun run will be $10 or $15 depending on when you sign up, with a 9:30 a.m. start time.
I'm sorry, Sarah. I updated this in the packet and after I printed it for you, of course, but I don't know if anybody can see the screen, but I had a very, very long conversation with Clarence Horsley, I believe is how you pronounce it, and he is the Run to Win chip timing representative that we have contracted with for the race, and we had discussed everything here. So I changed the pricing just a little bit on his recommendation. And I don't know if y'all can see this, but it says $20 for the early bird now through August 1. And he can have this registration go live like by this Friday, which is way early. But anyway, $20 early through August 1, $25 through August 13th, $30 up until the race. And we would stop at $30. Because I kind of let him know that in the past we tried to keep it, really cost friendly for families to participate. And we get a lot of support, or we have in the past, from the Haslet Elementary School. The coach over there encourages the running club and the kids in the gym classes to participate. And I think she kind of awards them if they do participate. So we try to keep it cost, for people to have all their family participate. So based on that, we kept the fun run, topped out at $15 and the race at $30, which I think is really affordable if you're a runner. $30 for a race where you get a t-shirt and all that is probably a good price. Plus there are fees, like about $3, $3.50 or so when you pay, to register on their website too. So keep that in mind.
Katrina, it's Barbara.
Yes, ma'am.
Could I just ask you to make, and maybe this doesn't bother anybody else, but could you change the word till to until?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I thought you said she was going to change it to now through.
Or
Yeah, and
anything
you know what?
till.
Honestly, I was just trying to make it fit in the space, and I did it in a hurry today. But yes, it
No,
might
that's
be.
So we don't need to approve anything on that, if that's fine?
No, we're going to look at t-shirt colors and stuff like that a little bit closer to the event. But I just wanted you guys to see this is what we're going to nail down for the race, and then the sponsor form, because I still haven't sent sponsor forms out. That will all be sent out later this week. So those are just included, so you guys could look at them. But no, that's all we're going to need.
I think it looks good.
It does look good. So there's no action needed on this, Katrina?
I cannot think of anything. The only thing we'll need to vote on coming up is probably just like the, what they call the ribbons, the medals that we give out. And he and I discussed the categories, which we kept the same on that form. And, generally just kind of lean on his guidance as to what will be the norm, kind of like last time. He has an app, and it sounds like a pretty good system for getting people pre-registered, packet pickup, and placing in the race. Like if they sign up and they have the app on their phone, they'll be able to see where they place instantly on their own phone. So I'm looking forward to hopefully a smooth, but like I told him, we're a good ways away. I'm not even going to remember all the details that he shared about that. So we'll revisit that closer to and select the colors of the t-shirts and things.
Okay. Looks good. Thank you for doing that. All right. Then we have Christmas in the park. Katrina, did you want to tell us about the ice bids that you have here?
I'm going to let David tell you. Are you still there, David?
David, are you there?
I'm here.
Can you tell us about the emergency ice bids and stuff, how it's going to play out?
It's pretty much the same as what we've had. The two play areas, the one much bigger. The only real difference will be the fact that we will have to get some straw bales to create our own slide out of. But as you can see, there's some, I don't know if anybody has seen the pictures. It's pretty simple, not real complicated. We just got to get with
Page
feet.
46.
Yeah, it's not hard. We just got to, be prepared, get it ready before with the feed store so that we have them there, get them stacked up, ready for them when they show up, and everything else. They're pretty much doing the same thing as always. They'll show up that morning real early and start grinding it up, putting it out, and we'll have the two separate play areas. And since we're going to have hay bales for the raising up for the slide, that's going to be in between, we'll be able to use some of the other hay bales around the edges for seating or whatever, so you can kind of watch the kids, and then we'll put some temporary fencing or stuff around it to keep them from running all over the place.
And did you say we have this orange like is in the picture, or we could rent that, or is that something we are going to do maybe?
Well, it depends on whether the EDC would let us borrow the stuff they have over at next door to Lee's Barbecue, because they have a whole bunch of it over there.
Okay. Well, again, we got a long way to go, so we can revisit this. But what we do want to do is get a motion that you guys would like to do the emergency ice in the play areas. We have a total cost of $6,370, and they want 50% ASAP to hold our spot.
Hey, this is Barbara. I move that we approve a $6,000 funding for emergency ice to provide our ice that will be needed for Christmas in the park.
Thank you.
Have a second?
I'd like to ask one quick question. If we are not able to complete Christmas in the park, is any of that refundable?
50%. Unlike their old policy, they have upgraded. Used to, they had a $100 deposit, and you could cancel and just lose $100. But now it's 50%.
So our whole deposit will be lost, because that's 50% of the fee, correct?
Yes, but I feel like if it's due to, the pandemic, they will let you use the money for another time. It doesn't say that in the contract, but that's how it worked, last year. But yes, that's a chance for taking.
Could we ask them to include that statement in the contract?
What do you think, David? Mr. Mendoza.
Oh, I guess it's always possible, but it may, since they're booking up so far out, it may delay. We might not get our spot.
Okay, I was just a question.
I second.
I second the motion.
Who second, Garrett?
Yes.
Thank you.
So Barbara motioned, Garrett seconded. Cindy?
I agree.
Sarah agree. Erica? And Matt?
Agree.
Perfect. So we will pass that money for the snow area. Let's see. Yoga has been canceled. Tai Chi has a flyer on the back. They're doing a beginner's class at 9:30 in the morning. $10 per class for both residents and non-residents. And then the regular class will start at 10:30. $5 if you're a resident, $10 if you're not a resident, and you can text the instructor there at the number at the bottom. I want to take a quick moment to remind everyone before we go to other event ideas that each of you are on the Parks Board, and we are the ones that staff these events. So for May 31st, we don't have to be in attendance. We're going to record that. But we do depend on our volunteers to be at the event. So if you want to go ahead and take a moment to pencil on or pen on your calendar September 17th for Movie in the Park, October 25th, which is the second Tuesday, the first Tuesday in October. That doesn't change. That's a national night out nationwide. And then our Haslet Hustle will be October 23rd. With packets likely being passed out the night before. So if you can do either or both of those. And then December 4th, that date doesn't usually change either for Christmas in the Park. It's the first Saturday of December.
Correct.
Just make sure you have those dates penned in on your calendars, because at this point, those dates will not change.
Can we do we have any board members who are runners who would be interested in participating and has experience?
I would want to run,
Okay.
but I consider myself like a full-on runner.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I'll run.
Experience.
I can volunteer as well.
Perfect.
What
And again,
experience
that's
are you asking for?
Like if
Running
you're a runner,
experience or
because
volunteer experience?
no, I'm asking about runner experience, basically because the kind of I'm sorry, my dog's barking. Protocol for race and the snack stations and water stations has kind of changed since the pandemic, and that's why I asked that question. But we'll just kind of work on it as we get closer to the event. Like there will be no open cups of water like we've done in the past.
Well, they do make those little bottles that are like the half size of a normal bottle, and that might be appropriate if we don't have cups of water.
Well, I agree. It'll probably have to be something like that. But, there's the trash issue, and I don't know. So that's the reason I asked. We'll just work on it as we get a little bit closer to the event.
Any other projects or ideas?
Staff would like to talk if the chair would so indulge.
Go for it, Travis. You're up.
All right. So I'm not sure if you've been by City Hall lately, but with the parking addition on the west side and the tap trail, we have done a lot of projects to introduce a lot of new plants to that area. So with new plants obviously comes new challenges, keeping them trimmed and pruned and especially the weeds out of the gardens. So we were looking maybe for Park Board to potentially start a garden club. I'll tell you right now, the park
Make it. I'm sorry.
The park staff themselves.
I'm really excited about it.
So the park staff themselves, we have 2 people right now. And if you can imagine how many acres of parkland that we're mowing and keeping down grasses, sometimes the weeds fall behind. So we were just going to throw it out there that if Parks Board wanted to entertain a garden club, that it would be greatly appreciated.
Travis, my internet's really slow, but if we were in person, it would be a lot easier to see expression, talk. But I'm all about gardening, so I'm really excited that you're bringing this up because I think it's a huge thing, a huge asset for any community to be involved in. So you totally have my support in that.
This is Cindy. I was by City Hall today, and it looks very, very nice. You've done a wonderful job.
How could we advertise that? Just post it on the Haslet Parks Board Facebook page, that any interest in a garden club, blah, blah, blah. What would be the best way to solicit participants?
I'm sure we could do that.
What exactly would garden
Go
club? So you're asking to. I do want to talk about how we solicit folks, but before we talk about how we solicit, I just want to be clear. what we're actually going to solicit them for. So what, because I think Travis is saying we need people to do some pulling weeds. So is that the garden club, or is this a little bit broader scope here?
Initially, I think we see it as helping us take care of what's been planted, to make sure that that plants need help. I mean, that's the best way I could describe it. That's how my wife would describe it, is plants need help sometimes. And if there's one that's struggling, it needs a little, stick of support, or needs to be tied, a branch tied to something else. And then obviously the weeds too. Like that's kind of on our lowest priority, just because we do everything else. So that's initially what I think it could be. It could be expanded from there. I think that there's definitely the potential for beautification spots around the city. Mentioned earlier, there's going to be a new fire station. That's something to look into. The current fire station, that's something to look into. But just throwing the idea out there, that's all that we're doing right now.
Yeah, so this is Matt. I like the idea. I just think when you're soliciting it, you kind of, folks are going to want to build something new, like something that's theirs. So whether it's like a new fire station or whatever, as well, I'm sure they'll be interested in just taking care of what's existing there. But I think you want a little bit of a mix. So anyway, I love the idea, and sorry I cut you off at how we're going to solicit. I just wanted to make sure I understood what we were going to actually solicit for.
This is Barbara.
I think that'll be a work in progress.
I'm sorry. Who's speaking?
Go ahead.
This is Barbara. This is my concern. When all of those new beds were being put around City Hall, I had a concern, because I know how we have the Veterans Memorial area in the park that we have trouble keeping up with. And right now we have a scout group that is helping us with that some, but that's kind of hit or miss. It is kind of hit or miss. And so I just wonder if the city is making requests to have staff to help with that, because that's going to be an area that grows and expands. And yes, it's nice to have volunteers help with things like that, but that's not always something that is dependable. And that's what we have found with the maintenance of the Veterans Memorial. And so it was always kind of a little bit of a concern, seeing the amount of money spent on new beds, that knowing that they were going to need maintenance and care, and not having a plan going into that, dealing with the maintenance and support that those new plants are going to need. And so the question is there discussion at City Hall of having staff that is part of their job?
There is discussion about adding positions. It always, of course, depends on what council wants to do. But we do have that discussion. A lot of the time, it's not necessarily that we don't have the staffing position available. It's that we don't have the staff. So currently, right now, we have a position open. It's been open for many months. And we had 2 positions open as of last week. We finally have a new worker. So that's kind of the balance that we're playing here. But we're not asking for volunteers or not trying to shirk any duties. All we're saying is there may be an opportunity for a garden club where somebody, kind of could take pride in what their hard work is doing.
Can we have a community garden?
Is anyone familiar with River Legacy in Arlington?
have driven through it.
Well, I just think that would be like a really cool concept. Obviously, we have a much smaller garden, but I can look into some stuff and with Katrina possibility of discussing some low maintenance alternatives, but also with the educational side for family and kids to be able to walk through and learn from and benefit from as well.
This is Cindy. You know, ideally, it would be nice to have one person on staff that would kind of be the spearhead of all of it and ultimately responsible for it. But that if we did have a beautification of Haslet or, you know, whatever we want to call it, even the garden center, they could direct people and oversee it. And then if we did have volunteers that came, say, once a month, then, you know, their workload would be allocated differently each month, or, you know, they come to work on the city garden or something. But if we had one person on staff that was overseeing all of that, and that was their job anyway, I think that could really develop into something where, like Erica's talking about, where we do educational things, and, you know, a lot of other things could come from that too.
Well, I wouldn't mind being able to look into some things and seeing what you guys think, and then taking on that side of things. I have a garden in my house. Sarah, you've been here, you've seen it. I'm very passionate about it, and
Much better than mine.
and I think that you know, my kids are very involved. I'll send you something, Katrina, that you can send to the group, where it's with my son talking about the stuff that he's done, and you can see just the light in his eyes. And I feel like there's so many parents and kids that would really, really appreciate something like this. So I will definitely send some information, and I'm a part of the botanical garden as well, the Search Institute, and I've done a lot of studying. So I'll be happy to be as helpful as I can be on this.
Erica, it's Barbara. I just appreciate you stepping up and taking the lead. I'll, you know, there's many of us that would be happy to help you with that, but if you can take the lead on that, that would be awesome, because it's like I don't have the knowledge to be a leader in that area, but I certainly will support you.
Yeah, sure thing. I'll do that. Do we need to set a motion on this, or are we just all going to say woohoo?
This was just a
No,
future item
Yeah,
to
there's some-
consider, so we'll bring
Yeah,
it
we
back
can talk
to you.
about it next time. If you get some information, we can put it on an agenda item. If we'll touch base with Katrina before the Friday. Is it the Friday before the meeting that you have to have that by, Katrina? The week before? If you get some information, she can add it to the agenda.
Yeah, and Travis, can I tag you in it as well, or Katrina, you'll send it to him to see how I can collaborate with him?
Sure. Yeah, just you can copy both of us. You can send it to me. I'm sure we'll
Okay.
you know, talk about it. But yeah, we need it probably you know, 10 days before the meeting.
Okay, we'll do.
All right. Anything else? Other projects or ideas that should be considered? All right. Anything happening, David? I always refer to you for these parts. Anything out at Nance Field?
Not a whole lot's going on in the field. There are a couple of older kids teams that are doing mostly just practice because they're playing games off. So they're using the field. They're about the only ones there. There has been a little bit of softball starting back up, seems like more. Been seeing more of them showing up also. But that's about all, besides all of our bathrooms at all of our fields. Nance Field, we changed out. We also changed the community to all electric flush valve, so everything's hands-free now. We're trying to do as little hand touching as possible to anything now.
Nice. Anything new at Firehouse? Oh,
Let me
go ahead,
ask
Cindy.
a real quick question. Did all the restrooms get fixed after the freeze?
Yes.
That's good.
Yeah, down at the fire station fields, the only real thing is the HSA. We got their infield dirt, and they had a weekend doing some cleanup, touch up, adding some new dirt here and there, and leveling out some spots on the infield.
And Gamble, I think kids are playing on that park pretty good.
Yeah, Gamble Park attendance has probably easily gone up fourfold since we put in the new playground. There's not a day goes by that, even in some of the most cold days, we've never yet had that park be without anybody being there. There's somebody in there all the time now.
How long do you think those swings out there are going to be good for? Do we need to look at replacing the swings that are on the outside?
That's something that we're already kind of in discussions of, putting together some of the things that we're probably going to need starting next year, about, replacing some of those parts are going to need to be replaced. A few things may need to be upgraded.
But we got another year or so left, you think?
Yeah, I think it'll be something that will start into the next year's budget, probably sometime after October. So something next winter would be done. So it'd be ready for spring probably.
Perfect. And then community park.
Wait, Sarah, before you move on,
Yeah.
I was stopped the other day. I had my safety vest on, which says Haslet on it. And I was stopped the other day walking past the playground, and it was a mom with a child in a wheelchair that was just completely ecstatic that there was an all abilities playground there.
Oh, good.
So just wanted to pass that along to you.
Aw.
I saw a dad over there on that swing the other day watching his kids, and it made me chuckle. That big round net swing that we all debated on, there was a dad taking full advantage of that as well while he watched his kids play. It was pretty great. All right, community park. I was asking Katrina and David, I guess those roads are pretty tore up where they've just driven across all of the cement sidewalks. Do they know when they're going to fix that? I almost tripped on one of them.
I haven't heard a definitive, yes, this is the date they're going to, I do know that they're just about finished with their work there, so they should be starting cleanup soon.
But they're going to patch up all those broken cement patches.
Oh yeah, they have to replace all those areas of the sidewalk they broke and tore out. All those have to be redone.
Yes, that's part of the contract. They have to restore everything to how it was. We had such a hard time, just not to bore anybody with engineering, but I've never seen a pipe getting through ground as hard as this one was. Like they had to hand tunnel underneath those railroad tracks. So we apologize that it's taken so long. I think it's been over a year in the park with that construction, but we're nearing the finish line.
Yay.
Travis, come to my house. I have 2 inches of topsoil.
Veterans Memorial Garden, I actually walked by the other day and it looks really nice. I think it looks pretty good. It's all weeded and rocky and it looks good to me. Do we need to do anything special?
No, they'll come out and set the stone and they'll clear the pad and bring everything. But I had to get used to the xeriscape. It took me a little while, but it looks nice.
Yes. I have a question kind of or a recommendation, I guess, for community park and the Veterans Memorial Garden. There's an area that's cemented around that, like directly behind the Veterans Memorial Garden in community park, and it's kind of up on the hill, and it's like almost like a brick trail that goes around off of the main trail. I think it's for the disc golf, but can we put a bench there? Like, is it very hard, David, or very expensive to order like just a park bench that has a back?
No, park benches depend on the kind. They're not all that expensive. I'm assuming you're talking up there on the hill.
Yeah.
There used to be one there. A Boy Scout group built a bench, but it was, of course, made out of wood, so it didn't last all that long.
I just
Yeah,
feel
I
like it's like a nice little lookout. When you get up to that hill, you can sit up there and see really all the park. It's kind of nice.
Yeah, I can bring next to your next meeting price for a bench, pretty much like the rest of the benches in the park.
Sure.
Yeah, I can do that for you.
Okay. Does anyone have anything else? Future agenda items to discuss?
I've got a question. This is Matt.
Go ahead, Matt.
So, is there dedicated, I know undeveloped, but is there dedicated parkland somewhere around Old Blue Mound Road? It's kind of near Harmon and Old Blue Mound.
Old Blue Mound.
There is.
I just know with Caraway, and then also there's another development off of Blue Mound Road. I thought I read that there was dedicated land. I don't know if that has to do with those two developments, if someone dedicated it but so I don't want to take up more time, but it may be something for, long-term planning or future discussion, since those are areas of growth. I'm just wondering what's dedicated over there.
Sure, there is some land on the south end of Caraway that was dedicated to the city. Currently, the developer has put in a little bit of a piece of trail there. I'm actually working on plans to get more of the trail there. I think we've called it Caraway Nature Trail, just as a placeholder right now. That nature trail was in the strategic plan, so it's a matter of getting design done and finding funding. So there is something there. That area was likely going to be maintained as natural, kind of the creek and the trees and everything.
So is it? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say in the watercress and the vines, which is the ones further to the west on Blue Mound, there will be walking trails that connect within that. There's also a current development called Sweetgrass, which is to the north of that. So eventually the Caraway trails, the nature park, the Sweetgrass, the vines and watercress, there'll be a significant amount of trails all open to the public.
Okay, is there any, besides walking trails, is there any dedicated space for development of a playground or just open grass soccer field or volleyball? I mean, whatever, just anything.
There is some dedicated space in the Caraway area that would work. The challenges there are the topography.
Right.
That's kind of why we looked at it as more of a nature trail there. On the other end of town, there's dedication in La Terra subdivision for parks that looks like it's potentially going to be a reasonable place to put things like soccer fields or just backstops and that type of thing. So it's all kind of really long-term 30,000 foot level planning right now, but there are areas that we are looking at.
Okay.
This is Barbara. Just to add on to that question, I just wondered if it at maybe if not our next a meeting that's coming up pretty soon, have a PowerPoint. Maybe start with the long range plan, because I remember when that was first developed some years ago, there was talk about some possible pocket parks along the trail that was put in, the walking trail that was put in the city, to just kind of go back and review some of that for the board, because there's been lots of changes on the board. And then plus there's not only has there been changes on our board, but there have been new communities that have come on that are providing additional lands, open spaces, that were not thought of when that plan was developed. And so if you could just kind of have a PowerPoint that puts those together, what's in that long range plan, and then what's available in these 3 new communities in addition to that. Would that be possible to put together?
Yeah, I could put together PowerPoint for that.
Hey, sorry, this is Matt. One more thing in that plan. I've looked at some population numbers, so I think as part of that plan, just making sure you're kind of showing. We someone said it earlier, you know, trying to make the maximum impact for the maximum amount of people, because those are Caraway. You know, it's the lots are relatively small. There's a lot of folks and a lot of potential density over there with more development ahead of maybe.
Yeah, I could put some population projections together. The city administrator has done.
I'm sorry. Travis, would this be park space that the different developers are planning to develop?
It'll be park space and also dedicated space. So I'll have a couple different aspects to that report.
Thank you.
Thank you, Travis. This is Barbara.
Maybe we could do that in June when we can actually meet in the community center, possibly.
All right. So anything else anyone can think of? All right, the next Park Board meeting will be on May 12th, 2021. It should still be virtual at that time. So if you guys would just kindly respond to Katrina whenever she emails yes or no that you're in, that way we can make sure we have a quorum. That would be great. And we will adjourn at 9:30.
9:30. Thank you, everyone.
Night.